$120 million. 4 tons of pressing force, 400 custom parts, Wi-Fi, an app, a QR scanner, all of it to squeeze a bag of fruit. Then a reporter squeezed the same bag with 2 hands and got the same juice, faster. Here's the part that actually matters. The machine wasn't losing to the hands at pressing juice. The machine was never really trying to press juice. Its real job was deciding who you were allowed to buy juice from. And that one job, it did beautifully, right up until anyone brought hands. This is Juicero. In 2013, in San Francisco, Doug Evans set out to fix juice. He had form. Years earlier, he'd co-founded Organic Avenue, one of the first cold-pressed juice chains in New York, so the raw juice gospel came before the machine. Bloomberg reported he compared himself to Steve Jobs in his pursuit of the perfect press. Juice had a Jobs now, and people believed him. Google's venture arm believed him. Kleiner Perkins believed him. Campbell's Soup, an actual soup company, believed him. About $120 million from people who are paid professionally to tell juice from Kool-Aid. This was not a garage operation. This was the smart money, all of it. Deciding the countertop juice press was the future. In March 2016, the future arrived. $699 for a countertop press. Wireless. Beautiful. Reviewed like a phone. The tech press covered a juicer the way they'd cover a flagship launch. The design, the app, the connectivity. Nobody in all that coverage stopped to ask the one question you'd ask about a juicer, which is whether you needed it to make juice. And it did not press just any fruit. It pressed Juicero's fruit, single-use produce packs, $5 to $7 each, delivered to your door every week with about an 8-day shelf life before they went off. So, before we get to the 4 tons of force, hold on to the actual product. It wasn't a juicer you owned, it was a juicer that owned a subscription and came to live in your kitchen. Now the machine, Evans said it pressed with 4 tons of force. Enough, he said, to lift 2 Teslas. 400 custom parts, he said, in there. And all 4 tons went into pressing a bag you could open by looking at it sternly. But watch what the 400 parts were actually for. Every pack had a QR code. The machine scanned it over Wi-Fi through the app before it would press a thing. No Wi-Fi, no juice. Think about that. A juicer that couldn't juice if the internet went down. Pack more than about 8 days old. The machine read the code and refused. Pack that wasn't Juicero's. Refused. Buy the produce yourself at a shop, put it in the machine. Oh, nothing. None of that presses fruit. A QR scanner does not extract a single drop of juice. It checks a receipt. Now, the company had a reason for all this. The internet connection, they said, was for safety, so they could check the produce was fresh and remotely recall a bad batch if they ever had to. Which sounds responsible until you notice it also means they can switch off a press you paid $700 for, from a server whenever they like. Critics had a shorter word for it. This digital rights management, or the same lock that stops you copying a film, bolted to a bag of fruit, lock-in, dressed up as freshness. So here's what 4 tons of engineering was doing, not pressing, permission. The press was a toll booth, and the toll was the $5 to $7 pack forever. That's the razor and blades model, unless you sell the razor cheap and make it back on the blades. Except the whole trick depends on the blade being hard to make yourself. Their blade was a bag of chopped fruit. They spent $120 million building the finest lock in Silicon Valley and bolted it to a bag. The lock held for about a year. Then April 19th, 2017, Bloomberg published the sentence that ended the company. Reporters skipped the machine. They squeezed a pack by hand. About 7.5 ounces in roughly 90 seconds. Just as quickly, Bloomberg wrote, and in some cases faster than the 4-ton press. And Bloomberg reported the kicker. 2 of Juicero's own investors only found out the packs could be hand-squeezed when the reporters told them. $120 million in, and the men who wrote the checks learned the product from a newspaper that had already been a tell. That January, they'd cut the price from $6.99 to $3.99. which the company itself called 12 to 18 months ahead of schedule in response to slow sales. In their own words, then came the defense, and this is the part you couldn't script. CEO Jeff Dunn, who ran Coca-Cola North America before this, asked customers please not to squeeze the packs by hand. It created undue mess, a poor user experience. That was the moat. Not that hands couldn't do it, that hands were slightly messier. On September 1st, 2017, about a year and a half after launch, Juicero suspended sales and offered to buy the machines back. No buyer came. The company wound down by December. But the name stuck. A Juicero is now the standard unit for spending a fortune to solve a problem nobody had. $120 million. And the one thing it built to last was a metaphor. And Doug Evans, the man who built a 4-ton machine to control precisely what came out of a bag, went looking for the opposite. He did a 10-day cleanse drinking only raw water. Unfiltered, untreated, straight from a spring. He became one of the movement's loudest voices. A man who spent $120 million putting a QR code between you and your juice ended up drinking the one beverage on earth with nothing between him and the ground. They didn't lose because the juice was bad. They lost because they spent 4 tons of force and $120 million guarding a step that hands do for free. The lock was flawless. It just wasn't attached to a door. Some deck, there's always another one.